What classes do you think benefit most from taking a short rest? Do you think it's possible to build an adventuring party only using the short rest mechanic?
Well, Ted, it looks like we got some work to do, but I'm sure we can build the ultimate short rest D&D adventuring party.
I'm Nerdarchy Ted.
I'm Nerdarchy Dave, and welcome to Nerdarchy, for nerds by nerds.
So let's skip the rest and get right on into this video.
All right, so we're talking about short resters. Who does it best? What are the problems with short rest? What are some of the advantages of characters that can short rest?
We're gonna look and see what kind of things are problematic, with the short rest. And for a lot of it, you're looking at, long-term hit point recovery, looking at spell slot recovery, and certain classes, make it a little bit easier. Your Order of the Land Druid or, your Wizards with Arcane Recovery. But, eventually you're going to run out of those hit dice and you're going to run out of, ways to get things back if you're not one of these awesome at short resters.
Also, the other disadvantage of a long rest over a short rest is you can keep short resting. You can do multiple short rests. There's no limit on how often you can short rest.
Right.
But you can only long rest once in a 24-hour period. So once you've done it, you can't do it. So, and also if you have a time crunch, right, and maybe you could benefit from only taking, a short rest here or there in order to meet your objectives, it might be really important. Well, certain character classes are going to be hampered by that a lot more than others. Stop! We have our second Kickstarter ready to go. Check the link in the description.
Add 250 magic item tarot card to your gaming resources right now.
Mageforge are magic items from our very own games and minds ready to use in your game.
So check it out, back it, follow it, whatever it is that you need to do.
And get on that list. So the biggest problem with our short resters, or the short rest, mechanic for a lot of the character classes is, if you're any kind of spellcaster, you're boned, right? Like, there's only one spellcaster that can really get back their spell slots on a short rest. Everybody else is like, that's a very finite, limited resource, and you're gonna run out.
Right.
Hey, before we go any further with this video, if you're looking for a way to help out the channel and support your favorite nerds, down below there's a bar. It's got cool stuff in it. There's Goblin Dungeon Masters, there's Jurassic Park shirts, there's mugs, there's hats, there's all kind of Nerdarchy branded gear down there. You can take, and that's only like the tip of the iceberg. We got even more in our Spreadshirt store, which down in the description you can find a link to that. But in the meantime, you can see the cool pictures right below.
But you're looking for another way to help support the channel. Maybe you've already bought the t-shirt. Maybe the t-shirt's not really your thing. You can always head over to Patreon and support us there to help keep making videos like this, as well as all of that awesome content over on nerdarchy.com.
Every month we drop 5e content for DMs and players alike. We're making drop-in encounters, magic items. Sometimes we turn them into print and play cards, feats, spells, races, subclasses, you name it. We're probably making it over there. Even a chance to game with Nerdarchy. Go down to the description or one of these cards up here, and there's a free download that you can get for like a sampler of what we do over on Patreon. So go click those links and help support your favorite nerds, or us.
All right, so diving into this particular video, we're going to get right into the nuts and the bolts and talk about what classes are going to be best at taking the short rest, and we're even going to highlight particular subclasses right within that class, because even within those classes, some of those subclasses, some have long rest abilities, some have short rest abilities, so that isolates the subclasses that are even better for this particular build. So we're looking at Fighter, we're looking at Rogue, we're looking at Monk, and of course, the ultimate short rester, we're looking at Warlock.
You are saying the Warlock is the ultimate short rester. I would argue the Rogue is actually the ultimate short rester, because their abilities just happen all the time and they don't actually need any rest.
Well, that's the thing. They don't need anything to rest to get back. They're just great all the time, hands down. The Warlock requires those short rests to get the stuff back. So they're the ultimate short rester. The Rogue is just the ultimate, just because it is.
So the monk kind of falls into the same category as Warlock, though, like, because they get their key points back or in a short rest, and that's a big part of their bag, right? Especially anything that came out before Tasha's Cauldron and everything. The ones that, Tasha's Cauldron, everything, Fizzman's Treasury of Dragons, they start getting into like more uses of things and not as dependent. But yeah, they are both going to depend, they're both going to depend on those short rests a lot.
All right, so looking into the specific subclass, for Fighter, we're looking at Arcane Archer, Battlemaster, Champion, and Psy Warrior. Predominantly, their abilities are, short rest resets, which is absolutely fantastic, or they just don't have abilities that have a rest mechanic. Like, Champion, it just is like, boom, you get these abilities.
Yeah, the Champion is good that way. Like, once you get their stuff, it's just on all the time. They're kind of roguish in that way. The other ones, all their mechanics are basically the short rest as well. They have resources that they get to expend. So yeah, they benefit a lot from their short rest. So for the monk, essentially any of them, right? They all are very, they are all dependent on the short rest. A lot of their mechanics are tied to key points and getting those key points back. There are some exceptions. Open Hand Monk, Way of the Open Hand Monk, and Way of the Ascendant Dragon, they each have an ability that resets on the long rest mechanic. Everything else is either, they get it and then they can spend key points to actually do it and keep doing it more. So there's a freebie. So as long as you have key points, you can kind of go back to those things.
And that's the great part about the monk is there's a lot of things that have you can use it again with key points, and since key points reset on a short rest, it still fits within that particular confines. So a lot of great things that you can do with monk, and they can cover a lot of different niches within, shall we say, the typical D&D isms of damage dealer and healer and that kind of stuff. So looking at the rogue, we have 4 that we feel really stand out. So we're looking at Assassin, Mastermind, Scout, and Soul Knife.
Yeah, all of those don't have any abilities that rely on a long rest, or they just don't rely on resting at all.
Again, see that aforementioned rogue not really having these kinds of abilities of just like, okay, you can do this when this particular scenario is present, even if you can arrange it to happen all the flipping time. Rogue is just a phenomenal class, and everything about it is just like, all right, we're golden.
So then we have Warlock. Warlock, there's 4. There's Archfey, there's Fiendish, Great Old One, and Hexblade. Now, the Fiendish and Hexblade each have a long rest ability each, but again, like the other stuff they get is pretty good. Everything else is dependent on short rest or nothing at all. So you definitely have some options there.
So there are a number of feats that we're going to call out that if you're going to build this kind of short rest thing, that you can wind up working with. So we're looking at Chef, Healer, and Inspiring Leader. These are things that are going to allow you to get temporary hit points, healing, or just being able to help out the party, since you don't have a cleric or a druid who's going to be casting these heal spells. You're going to need things that reset on a short rest or just are able to provide, these kinds of bonuses.
You don't even have a paladin or a bard. And that's the biggest part or a problem with the short rest party is the fact that, the healing component of it is so dependent on spell casting, and, there might be some ways to tweak getting Warlock and having Warlock be able to cast cure spells. I mean, there's actually several ways that you could do it. But again, the problem with the Warlock being the healer is, they have 2 spell slots until they hit, pretty high level. Then they have 3, and they max out at 4, right? So, at that point, they could kind of be the healer, but then they're going to be done.
It's like, all right, well, I healed 4 times.
Yeah.
I got nothing until we take another rest. And you could short rest, heal, short rest, heal, short rest, heal, and there's nothing to stop that. But at that point in time,
you could have long rested.
Can you take a long rest?
Yeah.
It's not that big a deal at that point in time.
I will say that the Warlock's healing is more potent, only because it's going to be cast at a higher level spell slot.
Yes.
So you're automatically going to get more hit points back. So it's effective in that regards.
Right.
But in every other way, it's suboptimal at this point. The Way of the Mercy monk may end up actually being a better healer,
Guaranteed.
or being able to do it more often.
So that actually brings us to, let's actually make the choices that Dave is kind of hinted at, of like, we're gonna pick, we already have our 4 classes, and we're gonna pick the best subclass to build that 4-person party, and figure it out. So what's up first?
Fighter, we get the Battle Master. I mean, you get some battlefield control, you're going to do some extra damage, and you can still tank.
You can still tank, and you can get that battlefield manipulation that the Battle Master is so perfect at. Next up is going to be the Monk, and as you kind of pointed out, Way of Mercy actually has the ability to heal using their key points. So like we felt that was the closest we could get to a short rest healer, and especially if you add in healer and or chef into that mix, they're going to be golden.
Not only that, too, Way of Mercy also lets you remove conditions, right? And that's the other thing that the Warlock you might not be able to do, or you have to dedicate more resources to it.
Right.
Where this is just part of the Way of the Mercy's kind of like kit.
Indeed.
So next up, we're going to go with Rogue, and we want to go Scout because it's basically going to take the place of the Ranger, and also it's going to really give you access to the exploration pillar of the game.
It can do everything a rogue can do, and it can do all of the cool stuff that a ranger is needed for. We said it for the longest time before Tasha's came out that you want to play an awesome ranger, go play a rogue scout, because it was that potent. Tasha's did kind of fix things, but with the building the short rest, party, rogue scout's the way to go. When we get into Warlock, we felt Archfey was kind of the most potent of the Warlocks to be able to put into this kind of party. They're not going to do everything that a wizard can do over the course of a long day, but if you're short resting and getting those spell slots back, and you're careful about your invocation choices and your spell selection, you can do a lot of really great things with this kind of Warlock.
Also, their abilities give them access to things like charming and stuff, so it'll open things up. I mean, but most of these are kind of interchangeable with any of the other ones to make a decent party. If you're adding a 5th and 6th level, 6th character, you could double up on any of them, and you're gonna do fairly well. Just go with different subclasses. And then you can mix in your different racial features. But again, most racial features are going to be either like all the time or long rest. Mm-hmm. Rarely are they short rest dependent. I mean, there might be a few.
And then you want to make those selections based off of what fits thematically. And if you're really trying to do that ultimate short rest party, look at those things that are reset on a short rest or use all the time, like half orc with that brutal critical, allows you to do it all the time. They're indomitable, is once a day, but it's still a scenario of like, look for those niche situations.
Question is, what is your ultimate short rest party? Let us know and put it down in the comments below. Share your thoughts and ideas with the Nerdarchy community.
While you're down there, don't forget to do all those fun things like share, subscribe, even go ahead and attune to that notification bell.
Quick reminder, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, we drop new videos here on the channel. Come on back. But you can't wait till then. No worries. We got you covered. Up here, there's a link to a whole playlist where we talk about adventuring party composition for Dungeons & Dragons.
So until next time,
stay nerdy.